What's up YouTube, and welcome to my channel, and thank you so much for being here and for showing your amazing support by watching, liking and subscribing the channel. I'm truly grateful for how this channel is growing, and I appreciate every single one of you. I do my best to reply to every comment, so don't hesitate to share your thoughts, questions and advice, or even content suggestions down below. Your feedback means a lot. It helps me understand what you enjoy and what you would like to see more of. My goal is to release one video every week. It's definitely going to take some hard work and consistency on my part, but I'm excited for the challenge. If you enjoy the content, all I ask is that you leave a like in the video. It really helps the channel grow and keeps me motivated to keep creating. And thanks again for being a part of this journey. Now with that said, let's jump into the main topic of this video. Now this isn't your typical Xbox 360 list. You won't see games like Halo, Gears of War or Fable here. I mean, a lot of other YouTubers have already mentioned those are great games. So I'm going to be doing my favorite games in this list that I grew up with. So also this isn't one of those hidden gems videos either. These are just some awesome 360 games that I personally enjoyed back in the day. They are not all exclusives, but they are titles I had great time playing during that era. And I think they are still worth talking about even today, considering how stale current gen has gotten lately. Games these days are all about hype and no follow through. The situations got so bad that we keep getting remakes of the games from the 6th or 7th generation because even the industry knows how much better the old games were. Now this being a retro video game channel, you're going to see a lot of indie titles that take inspiration from those retro video games. And on the first, we have Castle Crashers. Castle Crashers releasing on XBLA in 2008, which was later released on PC in 2012. And that was my only way to play this game. Since I didn't own an Xbox 360 back then, I enjoyed this game, but I really had fun when I replayed it on my Xbox 360, the way it's meant to be played, and I felt that joy gaming brought me when I was a kid. Castle Crasher is a medieval beat-em-up style game where you can connect with up to 4 players online or invite your friends for some couch co-op. You play as a variety of different knights, each with their own magical abilities. You are set out to retrieve the crystal and princess that's been abducted, and that's the main story of this game. This game has a variety of enemies in each level and keeps the game fresh by changing environment on how enemies react, and every area has its boss that you need to beat to progress to the next level. You can level up your character and magic and unlock new playable characters from various other games made by Behemoth. Most fun when played with a friend. The Xbox achievements, leaderboards and DLC added extra layer of fun to this title. Now we have come to a part of this video that I know a lot of you have strong feelings about. Bully Scholarship Edition. I mean, who hasn't wished for a sequel to this game? We have all heard the rumors over the years about a follow-up getting cancelled, and honestly it's such a shame. Rockstar really created something special with this one. Personally, I would love to see a sequel someday, but let's be real, Rockstar is pretty tied up with GTA, and we all know those games, take like a decade to make. Compared to that, a Bully sequel might not take as long and could still be an incredibly fun and successful project, especially with the loyal fan base this game has built up over the years. In Bully, you play as Jimmy, a teenager sent off to a boarding school for a year. The whole game revolves around trying to climb the social ladder, kind of like real high school life. You go to class, take on main and side missions, and just explore the craziness of the school and its cliques. The good news is, this game is backwards compatible, so if you have got an Xbox One, Series X, you can still play it today. Yeah, some part of the games might feel a bit controversial by today's standards, but it's still a blast and absolutely worth checking out in 2025. Especially since we are not getting a remake or sequel anytime soon, just something to keep that in mind. The next in the list, we have another indie game, and it's made by the same studio that worked on Castle Crashers, and it's called BattleBlock Theater. If you are into weird, random humor and chaotic platforming, BattleBlock Theater is absolutely worth checking out. You play as a prisoner who's forced to perform in deadly stage plays for an audience of cats. One of the best part of the game is the narrator. He's constantly roasting you while you stumble through levels full of traps, puzzles, and ridiculous deaths. You can play it solo or with a friend, and either way, you're going to laugh, rage, and probably die a lot. The goal's pretty simple: collect all the gems and get to the end of each level without dying. It was super popular when it first came out. Tons of YouTubers like Markiplier and Game Grumps played it, and for good reason. So anyhow, it's a fairly short game, to be honest, and right now you can grab it on XBLA, or if you do not have an Xbox 360, maybe try to get it on Steam, and it's probably under $15. It even goes on pretty sale often. Just keep in mind, since it's an older title, the online player base is basically dead. So if you're looking for people to play this game online, good luck with that. I would recommend playing it solo or in couch co-op. It's a blast either way. Alright, so who remembers the golden age of MLG memes, Mountain Dew, Doritos, and those over-the-top sniper montages with DNB music blasting in the background? Man, YouTube was wild back then, way before all the copyright crackdowns, and what a time to be alive. And yep, you guessed it, I'm talking about Call of Duty Black Ops 2. Black Ops 2 was peak multiplayer gaming. Picture this, it's 2012, you just got home from school or college, fire up your Xbox 360 and your entire friend list is online. Everyone's in the lobby, trash talking, hyped up, and just having an absolute blast. It was pure chaos in the best way possible, and here we are nearly 13 years later, still talking about this game, and that's how legendary it is. What's even more crazier is that Black Ops 2 is still alive even today. The original Xbox 360 version still has players, and it's fully supported on newer Xbox consoles too. So really, there's no excuse not to dive back in. Black Ops 2 wasn't just about the multiplayer either. The single player campaign was actually great, and of course the zombies mode was top tier. Easily one of the best in the entire series. The gunplay still feels smoother than a lot of newer COD games, and the pacing was perfect. It was way ahead of its time. You can still find matches in 2025 without much trouble. So go ahead, boot it up, relive the chaos, and the game like it's 2012 all over again. So next in the list we have Castlevania Lords of Shadows. Castlevania went 3D action adventure hack and slash with lot of shadows, and this time in the right direction after plenty of attempts on the previous generation of consoles. I believe it had to do something with the technology that devs finally got to reinvent this game. Considering how good God of War 3 did on the PS3, they copied the formula and implemented it perfectly in Lords of Shadow. Seeing a decline in sales of traditional Castlevania games, Konami wanted to reboot the franchise with hopes of increasing the sales. Lords of Shadow sold over 1.77 million copies worldwide and is regarded as the most sold title in the franchise. You play as Gabriel Belmont, a warrior of the Brotherhood of Light who embarks on a grim and vengeful journey after losing his beloved wife to the darkness consuming the world. The story draws clear inspiration from titles like God of War and Dante's Inferno, both in its narrative tone and gameplay mechanics, from the tragic hero's arc to the visceral combat and mythological overtones. The influence of this iconic game is evident throughout the experience. The combat was deep, the world was beautiful, from gothic castles to snowy mountains, and the story, a tragic journey about love, loss, and betrayal. It was bold, emotional, even had one of the best twist endings in the modern action games, a true reinvention of the franchise. I would say this is one and only best 3D Castlevania game in the franchise. Lord of Shadows 2 tried to come close, but it didn't excite me. It just fell flat compared to its predecessor and thus declined in Castlevania games, and we are still waiting for one in 2025. We hope we get one good Castlevania game in this generation. Fingers crossed. Now we are getting to the meat and potato of this list. I hope everyone is enjoying this video so far. So next in the list we have a Silent Hill Downpour. This is the last mainline Silent Hill game that was released in 2012, and this was released almost 13 years ago. But lucky for us, there are few on the way. Downpour wasn't perfect, but it dared to do something different. You play as convict exploring a shifting Silent Hill during a constant rainstorm. In this game, you play as convict Murphy Pendleton, criminal/prisoner who ends up escaping.
Okay.
In the beginning of the game,
Find the highway.
you're being transported in a prisoner bus. It ends up crashing near Silent Hill, which basically starts the whole game. The town itself felt alive, hostile, confusing, and deeply symbolic. While combat wasn't the strongest, the psychological horror and environment storytelling made up for it. Side quests were surprisingly deep too. It didn't just scare, it told stories about guilt, loss, and morality. Now, a lot of people dislike this one in the franchise, but being a diehard Silent Hill fan, I really loved it. Sure, it has some technical issues, but Silent Hill are all about the stories that it narrates, and Downpour did it well. And I was left wanting more when I finished this game. Now, the next game in the list is Skate 3. Skate 3 was the ultimate sandbox for anyone who's ever stepped on a skateboard, whether in real life or just virtually. Unlike the Tony Hawk games, which were all about pulling off crazy, unrealistic combos, Skate 3 leaned into physics-based skating. It felt more grounded, but at the same time, it led to some of the funniest and most ridiculous moments ever. You could build your own parks, take on massive drops, or just mess around in the Hall of Meat mode, trying to see how many bones you could break. It was the perfect mix of chill and chaos, and honestly, it still upholds today. The controls, the mechanics, the freedom, it's all there. What I loved most was the huge open world. You could explore for hours, try out tricks that just weren't possible in Tony Hawk, and create your own fun. That slightly unrealistic feel in the certain spots actually made the game more fun and unpredictable. And the best part, there's still an active community out there. People are still making content around Skate 3 on YouTube and TikTok, and it continues to have this cult following. If you haven't played it in a while, it's absolutely worth jumping back into. So next in the list we have another indie game. Fez is honestly pure genius wrapped up in a charming little platformer. You play as Gomez, a character living in a 2D world who suddenly discovers a third dimension, literally. The main mechanic lets you rotate the world to shift perspectives and solve puzzles. Sounds simple, but trust me, it gets deep really fast. At first, I'll be honest, I was totally confused. I stopped playing after a bit because the game has this wild structure with the levels inside of levels and nothing is spelled out for you. Then I came across indie game The Movie, and I remember hearing Phil Fish talk about Fez. He said something that really stuck with me, that it's not a game you're supposed to rush through. You're meant to take your time and relax and just explore. That completely changed how I approached it. I went back to it with a new mindset, and it ended up becoming one of my favorite indie games ever. It doesn't hold your hand, and that's what makes every moment of discovery feel so rewarding. Sometimes you really do just need to look at things from a different perspective, and suddenly everything clicks. So next we have another indie title, and that's Super Meat Boy. So let's talk about Super Meat Boy. A platformer that's fast, brutal, and insanely addictive. You play as Meat Boy, a little red cube trying to rescue Bandage Girl from the evil Dr. Fetus. Simple story, but gameplay is where it shines. It's all about super tight, precise platforming with levels full of spinning saws, spikes, and instant death. But here's the thing, it's hard, yes, but never unfair. The controls are so responsive that every time you die, it's completely on you. And the best part, there's zero downtime. You respawn instantly, so it's just attempt after attempt until you finally stick the landing. One of my favorite touches is the replay at the end of each level. It shows all your failed runs happening at once, ending with your one successful attempt. It's hilarious and weirdly satisfying. The retro art style works perfectly, and the whole game just feels great to play. It's challenging but also super rewarding. So, if you like fast paced platformers that really test your reflexes, Super Meat Boy is 100% worth checking out. Alright, so let's talk about Dishonored. You play as Corvo, a bodyguard who's been framed for a murder he didn't commit. The city is corrupt, there's a plague going on, and you have got to clear your name while taking down people who betrayed you. Sneak across rooftops, blink, teleport past guards, and leave everyone unharmed. Or you can go full loud, use brutal methods and weapons to take enemies out however you want. The game never forces you into one playstyle, and your choices actually affect the story and the world around you. The level design is also incredible, big, open areas with tons of ways to approach every mission, whether you are sneaking through a back window, possessing a rat to crawl through a vent, or just walking through the door with the sword in hand, it's all up to you. Visually, it has this dark steampunk vibe that feels gritty but unique. It's not the longest game, but it's super replayable because you can try completely different approaches the second time around. So if you like stealth, creative gameplays, and cool world building, Dishonored is definitely worth your time. Next in the list we have another horror game, one of the best survival horror game out there, hands down. You play as Isaac Clarke, an engineer stuck in a nightmare after surviving the first game. He wakes up in a space station that's being torn apart by these terrifying creatures called necromorphs. And from the very first scene, the game does not hold back. It's intense, brutal, and honestly kind of awesome. What really makes Dead Space 2 shine is the atmosphere. It's dark, creepy, and always keeps you on edge. The sound design is next level. You'll hear creepy whispers, footsteps in the vents, and things moving in the shadows. It messes with your head in the best way. The combat is super satisfying. You're not just shooting enemies in the head, you have to strategically take off their limbs to stop them. It adds a whole new layer of tension. Plus, the weapons are cool and creative, especially the iconic plasma cutter. Compared to the first game, this one has more action and better pacing. The story dives deeper into Isaac's mental state too, which adds a psychological horror element on top of all the gore and jump scares. So yeah, if you like horror, sci-fi, and intense gameplays, Dead Space 2 is a must play. Next in the list we have a hack and slash. Metal Gear Solid Rising Revengeance is a fantastic game that came out really late in the Xbox 360 lifespan, so a lot of people missed out on it. It's obviously not a stealth-oriented gameplay as the Metal Gear Solid series is, but still there are a ton of great things. Revengeance is a spin-off of original Metal Gear Solid franchise and takes place few years after MGS4 Guns of Patriot. Platinum Games developed this game and did a great job with the gameplay. As you can see, the title is now a decade old, but looks stunning to say the least. This title is fully backwards compatible with all the newer Xbox consoles. The boss fights are fun, the gameplay is tight, and actually really easy to pick and play. Getting to play as souped up cyborg Raiden is quite a thrill and really nailed the melee combat aspect as well. So do yourself a favor, if you haven't played this game yet, go pick it up right away. So next in the list we have a psychological thriller game, and it's Alan Wake, developed by Remedy Entertainment, released for the Xbox 360 in 2010. You play as Alan Wake, a best-selling writer who travels to the small town of Bright Falls to recover from writer's block, only to find himself trapped in a nightmarish mystery when his wife disappears and the events of the novel he doesn't remember writing starts coming true. The game blends intense third-play action with a strong narrative focus, structured like a TV series with episodes and cliffhangers. It's a rare mixture of storytelling and atmosphere, heavily inspired by Twin Peaks and Stephen King. The world is airy, filled with shadowy enemies known as the Taken, who are only vulnerable after you burn away the darkness surrounding them with light. Your flashlight becomes just as important as your gun. Visually, it pushed the Xbox 360 to its limit at that time, with moody lighting, detailed environments, and dynamic weather effects that enhance the horror vibe. The soundtrack and voice acting are excellent, adding to the immersive cinematic quality. Combat is fun but can get repetitive over time. The pacing slows occasionally with collectible hunting and some backtracking, still the story and atmosphere keeps you hooked. Bottom line, Alan Wake is a gripping atmospheric thriller with a unique blend of action and narrative. It's a must-play for horror fans, mystery and cinematic storytelling on the Xbox 360. So we are almost coming to an end of the list, and this time we have a detective action adventure game developed by Team Bondi. It's LA Noire and published by Rockstar Games. Set in 1947, Los Angeles, you play as Cole Phelps, a war veteran turned LAPD detective who works his way through various departments solving crimes ranging from traffic accidents to gruesome murders. The game's biggest innovation is its facial animation technology, which was groundbreaking at release. This allows you to read subtle facial cues during interrogations, critical to determining whether a suspect is lying or telling the truth. It creates a unique gameplay experience that mixes classic adventure game mechanic with the cinematic crime drama. Visually, the game captures post-war Los Angeles in stunning detail, with period-accurate cars, music, and architecture. The game really gets interesting once Cole Phelps gets promoted to homicide department. All these cases are inspired by real historical crimes, and these cases are favorite among ones. A lot of these cases did happen in 1940s and adds a layer of depth and authenticity. It was tragic we never got another game of such caliber ever again, and shutdown of Team Bondi crushed the hope of gamers ever getting another game like LA Noire. Bottom line, LA Noire is stylish, story-driven, detective thriller with a unique approach to crime solving. It's not for everyone, especially if you're looking for the fast-paced action, but if you enjoy narrative, heavy games, and classic noir films, it's a memorable experience. So this entry is the last one in the list, and it's Spec Ops The Line. This isn't just a shooter, it's a descent into madness. Spec Ops The Line starts like any other military game until it doesn't. While nowadays the idea of war and warfare that gets tread out in video games in a far more light-hearted context, this game refers to the realities of warfare and the genuine consequences that present themselves when two nations go against each other. It's a story about war crimes and human psychology, mental breakdowns, and the real side of a war. You're Captain Martin Walker, sent into sand-swallowed Dubai. What follows is a psychological spiral where the lines between a hero and villain vanish. The infamous white phosphorus scene, you don't forget it. This game focuses you to face the consequences of your action, and it doesn't let you off the hook. It's a heart of darkness with guns, guilt, and haunting silence. This isn't about winning, it's about asking, was it worth it? It'll make you question, are you a good person? A masterpiece and the most unforgettable game of my Xbox 360 era. Alright, so that wraps up my list of top Xbox 360 games. Honestly, putting this together brought back so many memories, whether it was late night gaming sessions, epic multiplayer matches, or just lost in those classic single player stories. If any of your favorites didn't make the list, drop them in the comments. I would love to hear what games you guys think about. And hey, if you enjoyed the video, give it a like, maybe subscribe if you are into this kind of content. No pressure, just glad you watched. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.